Tim, welcome. I'm excited to chat with you. So why don't you give us a bit of an introduction of who you are and what you do?
My name is Tim Bansemer. My background is in network engineering and IT security. And I'm focusing mainly on allowing new distributed governance structures to emerge. So this has two components. It has the operation system, so to say, what is DGOV about as well, so the event where we are here at right now. And then there is the mission critical infrastructure elements we need, which is heavily related to blockchain technologies. But I see that there's also a lot of work which still needs to be done. And that's it in a nutshell.
What would be your best definition of distributed governance?
The best definition for me for distributed governance would be it's a system which allows every human to act in a sovereign manner, like a cell in a body, and is able to communicate its needs and wishes in a meaningful way with the other beings. So this means distributed governance for me is a permissionless system where we can enter in and take agency. And it allows us to be more effective or more efficient, or say a property of it is that it is increasing in its ability to consider why it's growing. So I believe it has the need to scale.
And why is this important?
I believe we are challenging some fundamental challenges today as a society. Part of them are that we are not coordinating on a global scale. Part of them are that we are not sustainable in our economy. And part of them are that we don't have a shared vision which gives us hope for the future. And I believe that humans need that kind of positive outlook for the future where they can take part in to be creative, constructive, and also caring with each other.
So what do you believe are some of the biggest barriers for us to get there in the future?
I think one of the biggest barriers are that we played a game of rivalrous behavior for like thousands of years, where we learned that the man with the biggest gun had the most power, or that we can just take something and don't need to care about the impact it has when we don't consider the consequences of taking something just out of the environment or from other people. So we are heavily programmed with our current belief systems that the rivalrous behavior is the right one and the thing we should operate in. So I think one of the major challenges is to create a group of people which holds a truth for them that we can collaborate, and that there are other ways which are not rivalrous but collaborative, which are potential ways for society, for organizing ourselves.
What are some of the biggest risks with distributed technologies being used, let's say, in the wrong hands?
I believe when we speak about distributed technologies, I heavily think about incentive structures and the blockchain space. So I think the biggest risk is what we see currently also happening with ideologies in the Eastern Hemisphere, where we try to align interests of many agents through external incentives, and we override their sense making with it. So I believe that we can't have emerging intelligence and maximum diversity if we heavily externalize or heavily motivate through external incentives. So I believe the biggest risk we have is that we have perverse incentives heavily scalable through blockchain technologies, and many people which are subject to become addicted to those systems.
Mm-hmm.
What are the biggest opportunities for us as a society or as a planet if we succeed?
That's an awesome question. I believe that we could be really the spacefaring explorer like human species. But I hope in a way that we are stewarding also the new planets we then colonize. So I think we can really unfold immense innovation through new governance structures. That's what I hope for. Yeah.
What are some of the most interesting people, movements, or projects that are giving you hope for the future in the space?
It's an interesting question. I think the reason why DGOV is here, or why I'm so interested in starting DGOV, was that I had the feeling that there was something missing. But there are great projects out there which do very, very good pioneer work. Some are Aragon and DAO Stack, the Ethereum Foundation and the platform, and many other projects which are here as well, like Colony. But many of them are very focused still on the incentive structures and on the perspective that we should program people, which I believe is fundamentally against the sovereignty of the agent or the individual. So I really hope to combine that with other organizations which are not from the blockchain space, but which come up from outside the blockchain space, like the Inspiral Network, WeWork, and other organizations which think about how we can change our interpersonal relationships in work or in society. And I think there are many, many other projects out there which have relevance for this event. And I'm also happy that you are both here as the interviewers from Future Thinkers, because I think it's really like the interdisciplinary and the broad collaboration we need to cope with the complexity we are facing.
Mm-hmm.
What's your best, most optimistic vision for the future?
I think one in which everybody can strive. And I think this is something where we create value through creating something unique. And this is something where we are really using our power as humans to envision something and create it. So that's like the most positive future I can imagine, that we have the capability of doing that while being passionate and interconnected and aware of the impact we have and the power we have, and that we find a way to synchronize that with the nature and the other beings, and that we find a balance for that power and awareness for that power.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So that's all the standard questions. Is there anything you want to chat about that can be kind of open-ended? Anything you're passionate about right now?
I think that's it for now.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Tim.
you.
Thanks.